Politicians, when they run for elections, they are not exactly aiming to be legislators. They want to be ministers. It's just that we like this person, he's close to us, he's one of our family members. That's how ministries are divided, irrespective of whether that person has the talent or not. Why do we think that railway can be run, or even communication or information, by one random person? It's a very, very technical area, and you need technical people for it. Why is it that we never talk of fixing the system as the first reform that has to be there before all other reforms become effective?
But the point is, who's stopping the politicians from giving us local government? Who's stopping the politicians from doing a civil service reform? Who's stopping the politicians from stopping employment in the government? Who's stopping the politicians from doing pension reform? So please, let's just not think there's a one variable problem here. And who's stopping the rest of the world, our partners, development partners, from giving extra loans to these governments? Who's stopping us who's making us make new companies? For example, why do we have a Fannie Mae? Why do we have a competition commission? Why do we have so many agencies that we don't need? So honestly, and where is Parliament working? Does Parliament sit down and do anything at all?
PIDE had a whole, we called it Reform Manifesto, and it had 10 points. And today World Bank and PIDE both have their own agendas, and each had to pick 2 points, 2 agenda items which they thought were the most important. And we went with deregulation and reforming the administrative structure. Public administration for the 21st century, it's the most ignored and least understood topic, yet the most critical one. As Dr. Nadeem said in his presentation, irrespective of what we look at, it's always the governance issue. Spending more money is not going to help us unless we fix our structures. I mean, even if we take issues which are moral issues, which are ethical issues, very important social issues, be it poverty or education or health, unless we fix our administrative structures, no amount of money is going to remove or reduce poverty or improve our educational status or even health. I did a quick analysis of HIAS, and I just wanted to look at how health status is affected by education and by income, and it was income that had a bigger impact than education. Without money, you just can't do anything. Of course, they have a two-way relationship. So when we say that we need a reformed public administration system, structure for the 21st century, it includes everything. Governments, ministries, the civil bureaucracy, judiciary, public servants who are not CSS, then autonomous agencies and local government. Our cabinet sizes are huge. If you look at our document, you will see some of our cabinets are over 80 ministers big. So what this large cabinet does to the governance structure is that politicians, when they run for elections, they are not exactly aiming to be legislators, they want to be ministers. So politicians aiming for ministries instead of legislation, key positions entrusted without tangible work experience and relevant education. It's just that we like this person, he's close to us, he's one of our family members. That's how ministries are divided, irrespective of whether that person has the talent or not. Power consolidation, making relevant decision-making forums irrelevant. If there is a huge cabinet, voting in the parliament hardly makes sense. So we believe that there should be a separation of parliament and executive, limit cabinet members. The role of a minister is to oversee, no ministry for technical departments. And for this, we usually give example of railways. Why do we think that railway can be run, or even communication or information, by one random person? It's a very, very technical area, and you need technical people for it. Induct experts in cabinet. Cabinet should focus on policies and monitoring and evaluation instead of price setting, giving permissions, breaking or changing the budget. Budget making is a legal process. I mean, the way mini budgets come in Pakistan, it's totally unconstitutional. You just can't keep bringing mini budgets without the approval of the parliament. I mean, basically, it becomes a race for PSDP. Currently, there are 53 ministries, and after the 18th Amendment, we had an estimation all the federal government needs is maximum of 13 ministries. Then there are 206 autonomous bodies working under these 53 ministries. Many have no function at all, and some have overlap functioning. Then there is the role of ministries in these autonomous bodies. These ministries have become license dispensing agencies relying on the assistance of many donor agencies, and they are mainly executing the political agenda. It's not what the country needs, it's what whoever the government is thinks that it should be done. We believe that it's time that we need to trim the number of ministries at the federal level. Ministries should be a place of policy making, and we need to engage local academia. I mean, this is one theme that you'll see will be there in everything we say. Involvement of local people. We know best what we need. Of course, we need to take advice, but in the end, it's the local, it's our future, and we need to think what our future should be. Then every ministry should have a report which should be public, white papers, what the ministry is doing, what their programs are, how they are spending money. It should be a transparent system. Coming to civil bureaucracy, it's outdated. It's incapable of dealing the issues of the 21st century. It's a totally broken system. Dr. Nadeem talked about those files, those FITA files. I mean, in the 21st century, those huge pile with a string, I mean, it's strings attached in every possible way, physical and otherwise. Then the training that they are giving. There is just a question of seniority. You get promotions on security. You get nominated for even further trainings on the basis of seniority. The issue of performance is a very, very trivial issue there. It's, in many cases, it's not even something that's looked at. The incentive structure. We read a study on it. We know that the civil service is angry, but we are still waiting for actual comments. We want them to be paid very, very good salaries, but it should be a one-line salary. Just give them a good package without the current case where there are cash poor and perks rich. Then the civil bureaucracy remains suspicious of the markets, controlling prices, quantities, investments, and other operations. We are, right now, we can see what's happening with wheat procurement. Prices were set, we have the harvest, but we ordered huge import is there at the port, and the farmer is just confused what to do with the produce. Who ordered this? This whole controlling business is just putting, Dr. Nadeem stresses markets a lot. I would say, I mean, there has to be something functional. Bureaucracy or somebody sitting in the cabinet, they can't control everything. So PIDE believes that we have to eliminate the generalist colonial examination. It's just one exam for everything. No lifetime employment. You have to factor in performance. End of tribes. I mean, when we came out with this report that I talked about, cash rich, cash poor, perk rich, we mentioned that there are few cadres who are getting much more than the other ones. And we got a lot of criticism from the richer ones in public and a lot of praise from the poorer ones in private. There is a lot of difference between different cadres. So there needs to be an end of tribe. Ensure higher mobility. I mean, all positions should be made public and everyone should be able to compete for it through an open competition. Market-based competitive compensation and a single line salary. I've already talked about it. Technology is there, we need to digitize. End of these FITA files. FITA is string. Those huge piles which are tied up with a string. there has to be a cooling off period. I mean, a high official right after retirement cannot just directly go into an important position at, I mean, in many cases, it's almost conflict of interest. So there has to be a cooling off period. Options for early retirement, rethink the training mechanism. You can involve academia. Then there has to be a training need assessment, that what exactly is the kind of training that the civil servant needs. Judiciary. Dr. Nadeem talked about our basic survey. We asked a question in that survey that about every institution, what is the trust level? The trust level in Pakistan is lowest for the judiciary. I mean, we even had qualitative interviews, and we asked, if you have to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you trust judiciary? Many of them said -10. So, and law and economics are tied with each other. There is a need to understand this nexus. Judicial system is facing, I mean, there is a huge backlog. We've written 2 million. Just yesterday, I heard the Chief Justice say that now there are 2.4 million pending cases. The whole Code of Civil Procedure, it's archaic, it's dated, and it's living in the colonial system till now. Dispute resolution takes a lot of time. There are cross-court appeals, one appeal after another from one court to another court. Then there are a lot of adjournments. Then obtaining stay orders, injunctions is very easy. I'll skip this. This is the pendency of cases and disposals in the Supreme Court. We think that the procedures need to be amended. Reduce multiple hearings and adjournments, fix a maximum limit. A case cannot go on forever. I mean, in some cases, it's the next generation still stuck on the cases that started during their grandparents' time. There has to be a cost of adjournment. Any party, if they ask for adjournment, there has to be a cost for it. Establish an e-port for judges and lawyers, a consolidated one. There is a portal, but it's just for one type of courts. It's not across the court. So one biggest reason for adjournment becomes that I had a case at the High Court, so I'm not available for the Supreme Court. I was at the Civil Court, so I'm not available for the High Court. You need to have an e-port where all judges and lawyers' engagements are there. Public servants, non-civil service ones. I mean, these autonomous bodies, we see one new body every day. At times you feel that it's becoming a dumping ground to accommodate people. So the recruitment process is very poor. They are usually based on political considerations instead of capacity of the candidate or requirement of the organization. And again, it ensures lifetime employment. And if you factor in pension as well, it goes to next generation as well. I'll skip this. It has federal secretariat, the autonomous bodies, the attached bodies, the armed forces, the constitutional bodies. And this is a PIDE study where we calculated the cost of the lifetime cost of the public servant. It runs into millions, even at the starting level of BPS 1. I've got the warning, so I'll be quick. Right sizing, professionalizing, of course. Introduce modern human resource management system, modern salary system, and it should be a marketplace for career development, not just that I've spent 5 years, so I deserve a promotion. I've spent 10 years, I deserve a promotion. There should be some career progression where the skills are also improving. Instead of offering permanent position, offer contract-based appointment. Of course, then the factor of performance is directly linked. Even when the organizations are autonomous, we have a principal accounting officer. Dr. Nadeem has already told about it. I won't go into details. That's the way how a bureaucratic control is maintained on an autonomous body. It is autonomous, but it's not exactly autonomous. Local government. There can be no democracy without local government. And this is something that Pakistan has been dithering since ever. We get some sort of local government and then we don't have a local government. Decentralization will only be achieved. We have 18th Amendment, but we still see a lot of centralization. Decentralization will only be achieved if the locally elected councils are given autonomy in their spendings and planning decisions. Public service delivery is the responsibility of the local government. All these drainage, water, sewerage, these are not the tasks of federal or provincial governments. These are the tasks that are to be done by the local government. Local government implies administration, not just local politics. In Pakistan, everything is too politicized. I mean, instead of performance and function, we are stuck in politics. So, local government should actually devolve power, financial and operational, and we need to get out of this colonial civil service. I mean, we did try, ironically, it was a military ruler, Musharraf, that brought in some sort of local government, but it was the civil bureaucracy that felt that their power was diminishing with the Nazim being there. Local government system that respects heterogeneity among cities and rural urban areas. There should not be any template. I mean, if we are saying that it's a local government, let them evolve in the local perspective. Local government should have autonomy to determine their own comparative and competitive edge. I'll just end by saying that, I mean, we often hear these words, the system is too rotten. We don't have trust on the system. System hi kharab hai. We know the system is unequal. We know so-and-so person benefit from this system. But why is it that we never talk of fixing the system as the first reform that has to be there before all other reforms become effective? So our government needs to be reformed and configured for the 21st century, and without these reforms, we believe that we'll remain in the 19th century. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning to everybody. And thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss this very important topic here. I would also like to congratulate PIDE for this very good presentation and for sharing a very useful, interesting data to support your argument here. We mostly agree, with the key issues which have been highlighted here and the proposed way forward as well. Several other reports and survey-based data sets also sort of are in agreement with what you are discussing here. We look at Global Integrity Index, we look at Prosperity Index, we look at World Governance Index, and several others. They basically point to the same problem. Sorry. The state's ability to deliver services is broadly challenged by three weaknesses in the state's effectiveness, efficiency, and accountability. Now, the efficiency side is mostly going to be covered by my colleague Derek here in terms of revenue mobilization. But you've actually pointed out a lot about accountability and effectiveness here, where it is hampered by the patronage-prone political system, frail administrative capacity, weak provincial and local governments, and shortcomings in the justice system. So all these things, we noticed that they are part of your presentation. So that's pretty good way of presenting it. Now, taking it from the top, we feel that the political system is generally characterized by the patronage politics over issue-based politics here. Who or how the government is formed, the coalition government or the single party forming the government, this sort of is linked with the way cabinets are going to be formed and how the governments are the legislature or executives are going to work going forward. Your slide, which really shows the numbers about the cabinet and the civil servants, is very powerful and shows the message there. Secondly, the number of ministries and the government officials need to be aligned, with the redefined responsibilities after the 18th Amendment to the Constitution of Pakistan. There are also macro-fiscal challenges there and the demand-side pressure, which sort of poses an urgency there. Another important area which is discussed in your paper or your presentation is about civil service reforms. Civil service, we all know very well, is the driver of the state's machinery, and their efficiency determines state's effectiveness in performing their core functions. On civil service reform, a lot has been said, but little has been done so far. Several committees and task force were formed, reports were prepared, but never fully implemented. Major reforms were done, we know, in 1973. After that, another attempt was made in 2000s, where under National Reconstruction Bureau, they tried to make some changes in civil service, focusing more on the local government reforms. But most of these reforms were either partially implemented or faced reversal. So I was reading somewhere, at the time of Pakistan's independence, the country inherited about 95 civil servants and around 300 Class 1 officers. This group later in 1960s was declared as agents of change because they tried to address the key challenges at that time with very few resources. However, with the passage of time, we saw that things changed. But the question is, what happened? We've been all trying to find out the reason there. Over time, the best and the brightest started avoiding the civil service. Politicization, impaired the government's capacity to create a friendly business environment or render public services the way those were needed. Dr. Ishrat Hussain, explained the weaknesses in this way. He says that the government is generally weak, it is expensive, it's cumbersome, centralized, and inefficient. As a way forward, as you've already pointed out, instead of a piecemeal approach, there is need for a reform package. We should cover whole value chain of the human resource policies and the broader reforms. The political economy side of these reforms is also very important that need to be considered. Why previous reforms failed, why those were not properly implemented. That can also provide some good guidance here. There's also need to learn some lessons from international good practices. For example, I was yesterday reading from one of the news articles from a former civil servant, Mr. Aizaz Ahmed. And he shared an example from a flourishing business, and a Pakistani business was established in Vienna. And that business basically it's a restaurant, it serves to the local community and also serves to the tourists as well. But when he spoke to the business owner, he gave most of the credit for his success to the enabling business environment. His restaurant is regularly inspected by the government officials. There is no expectation or demand for bribes. So this and similar other examples, invite our attention to learn and, to learn from those and, try to find out the answers to the questions. What makes the other governments and their functionaries do their job more effectively and honestly? I think it is high time that the Pakistan makes implementation of the civil service reforms. They should make it a priority right now to modernize the civil service, to position it to develop, interpret, and implement government policies, which are designed to promote growth and development. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Navdis Nasser, for excellent presentation. You rightly mentioned the reforms in all these sectors, especially the redundant ministries and departments. But the question is, who will be basically take initiative to either abolish these departments, because the rents are linked with these ministries and departments, and especially the bureaucracy as well as politicians wants these departments. So my simple question, who will be the leader in all these initiatives, because this is something that we are lacking?
I think we have to demand first. And those who make these autonomous bodies and create these ministries are the ones who have to demolish it. But the demand has to come from us. I mean, we just had an election. How many times did you hear any debate, even on media, talking about these issues? So you need to have a critical mass talking about these issues to build pressure. I mean, it has to be ultimately the decision makers, and we have to force them to make these decisions.
A quick, not a question, comment. Often we blame the civil servants because they are the ones which are at front. But what we miss at the back is the whole system. You have partially mentioned about it, the public accounts, but there are other systems as well, such as the rules of the business and a lot of other statutory requirements which a civil servant has to actually follow. So that actually makes them like believe on the status quo or follow the inertia, or at least not take the responsibility. So when we talk about the civil services reform, let it not just be the humans, but it's the system which actually is involved in this total civil side of the business. That is actually going to solve the problem.
That's exactly the point is we have to reform the whole system. That's why we had so many actors. It was not just the civil service, those in the civil services, the whole system. We are still being run by the system that the Gora left us with. This is just not being said metaphorically. Like I was supervising a thesis on mental health, and it was still the Lunacy Act of 1835 that was still in practice. 1835, actually the 19th century. So the whole system needs a revamping, and there are no villains here. All of us, even you and I, are part of this system. That's why I said, we keep talking about system, but nobody is exactly reforming the system. And just looking at one piece, ignoring the other, is not going to help us. Once this whole, just make it a system that is for the 21st century. I think the FIFA file is the best symbol of how our system is run.
Ma'am, the 18th Amendment abolished quite a few matters that the Federation would deal with. All the ministries were supposed to be finished.
Yeah.
Not a single one was.
Yes.
And we had duplication of those in the provinces, as well as proliferation in the name of coordination.
Yeah.
So, there was a serious attempt by people at the top to reduce the size of government. But why didn't it happen?
I won't say it's rent-seeking, but there are interests of people. Like I said, that there are 53 ministries, and our estimate says that there should be just 13 ministries at the federal level now, after this devolution. There are jobs, there are interest. It's hold on power, and at times, there are factors like some of, what should I say? A donor would maybe like to interact just with one body instead of 5 bodies. So there are a lot of factors. But I think the first factor is that we have to change the mindset and bring it to the 21st century. This holding of power, it is basically power. And with power comes money, so it's everything. Like I said, that everyone who runs for an election is not running for an election to be a legislator, but to be a minister. Even if you look what's happening right now, even those who lost the recent election, they are being inducted as a minister. So it's all about power and money, and that's what exactly needs to be reformed.
This is Mehtab, I work for the news. Ma'am, my question is, as you have talked about the political issues as well during your suggestion on immediate reforms, don't you think now the time has come when we should speak the whole truth?
Yes.
The first problem is the rules of the game. And the
Agreed.
rules of the game starts where the power lies. And the power lies from military, then judiciary, then politicians, then civil bureaucracy. It's the easy punching pad that we only criticize the politicians. I am not the spokesman of the politicians, but don't you think now the time has come when we should say enough is enough? Rather than punching only those where is the easy target. For instance, I am a journalist, it's very easy to target only the politicians. And the same goes to the economist and same goes to the academia and everyone else. So don't you think the rules of the game is the major issue? Where everyone should restrict its role only where it allows the constitution and the rules of the business and the oath which he takes at the time of his appointment. And for judiciary, why don't you suggest
Yes.
the entry into the judiciary? For instance, it's the liked ones who have been inducted into the judiciary. And on civil service reforms, don't you think that all the suggestions and recommendations made by different governments, and especially Dr. Rashid Hussain, I don't want to say something very harsh, but I think all those reforms were only meant to spend the time and there was no implementation phase. So where we should start so that we can fix the problem. And on last thing, on taxation, there is no other solution that on medium terms, I totally agree with the PIDE. But on the short-term basis, how we should fix the fiscal deficit? Should we spend more energies and time to reduce expenditure side? And what should be the sequencing of those reforms? Thank you.
Dr. Nadeem? I mean, Mehtab, I couldn't agree more. Yes. You've talked about the military, I would say yes. It's a huge problem. I mean, anybody denying that, everyone has to restrict themselves to what is the function of that institution. And sadly, in our case, no one is interested in their own work, they are interested in the work of other institutions. They have to limit. And where do we start? I think it's not a sequential thing. Everyone needs a reform.
एक चीज पहली ये चीज है कि you guys keep thinking of only one problem, the forge. Okay, fair enough. But the point is, who's stopping the politicians from giving us local government? Who's stopping the politicians from doing a civil service reform? Who's stopping the politicians from stopping employment in the government? Who's stopping the politicians from doing pension reform? So please, let's just not think there's a one variable problem here. And who's stopping the rest of the world, our partners, development partners, from giving extra loans to these governments? Who's stopping us who's making us make new companies? For example, why do we have a Fannie Mae? Why do we have a competition commission? Why do we have so many agencies that we don't need? So honestly, and where is Parliament working? Does Parliament sit down and do anything at all? Parliament hasn't met since they made the government. Prime Minister never goes to the Parliament. So let's be clear, everybody's at fault here. But we really, instead of looking at one variable problem, we have to start defining the problem as we did. Let's professionalize the government. And I think the World Bank, IMF, everybody should say, professionalize the bloody government. Enough of this MA Angrezi. Tomorrow morning, you'll be civil health secretary. Yesterday, education secretary, then health secretary. This should stop. We should bring in professionals. The energy problem is a pure governance problem, where we will not allow the engineers or the people who know the energy sector to be empowered. Where if I bring in a CEO from outside, I can't pay him. This system, this thing, the politicians can do without the army meddling. Yes, judiciary reform is necessary. Once again, we need to work on the system. The problem is we have no ideas. We think throwing money at the problem and doing fiscal consolidation is all that's required. Yes, fiscal consolidation is all right, but fiscal consolidation on a broken system means nothing. Might as well have a deep crisis. This is my answer, Matthew. Might as well have a deep crisis. I used to tell this to Muhammad Al-Arian. I used to tell this to Malcolm Knight. Please let my country sink. Then maybe we'll learn. Close down the bloody houses. Close down the cars. Stop buying cars. Stop buying. The other day, I saw in Serena a Maybach. Maybach is a $1 million car with a green number plate. Can we stop this fleet of cars? Sell the government airplanes. We got the largest fleet of government airplanes in the world. For God's sake, sell them. There's so many things to do. It's not just tax.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम
जी
सर मेरा नाम डॉक्टर अरशद महमूद है आई एम फेडरल सेक्रेटरी ओवरसीज पाकिस्तानीज मिनिस्ट्री आई एम वेरी ऑनर्ड टू बी हियर और यू आर वेरी फेमस फॉर लाइक थोड़ा सा पंजेंट भी और रियलिटी बेस्ड आप जवाब देते हैं
Thank you.
आई डोंट थिंक एनी गवर्नमेंट you know tries to basically fail its governance structure और एक नेक नीति से they try to put up a reform agenda. I know that 2-2.5-3 साल आप भी डॉक्टर इशरत की कमेटी में have been hundreds of meetings every week और बड़ी मेहनत हुई some or other चीज़ें dissipate होती हैं तो my question is that is it basically the fault in design system through which we try to approach for revamping of this governance framework या on the way चीज़ें hijack हो गई I mean you have been part of all this long process so how we can reposition ourselves एक नए खिदमत के नए जज्बे के साथ कि अब हम आगे क्या बेहतर करें so that we can do something very tangible which has an impact.
Dekhi ji, we've never taken reform seriously. Let's face facts. We've never, all these reports that I think Iram pointed out to, and we've looked at those reports, even Ishrat's reports, not a serious report, right? Too superficial. He wanted to maintain the same structure, just name PAS, National Executive Service. No, I don't think it works. We need to reconstruct the system as a whole, period. Grade 17, 18, 19, all this has to go. BPS has to go. So many things have to be done. The problem is that there's no commitment from anywhere because this fiscal consolidation takes us over. But we have to run around looking for taxes. And besides, as I said, we don't have a policy framework in this country. We have the two-gap model, which is basically look for dollars, build projects. That's all we do. We have no reason to revamp our governance system. Our legal system, for example, take a legal system which is all from the 19th century. We still don't have property rights in this country. The World Bank has given us tons of loans to digitize land records across the Punjab. We still haven't done it. It's been 30 years we haven't done it. I remember Systems Limited began this reform, this digitization, 1973. I was there when we talked about it. It was being done, but still hasn't been done. The question is, we get distracted by projects. We want to build the metro. We want to build universities. The projects take over. We don't do reform and policy because we don't think it's important. And the signal that we get from the world is, guys, don't worry about that. All that will take place. Doesn't matter. Just read Darren Nastimoglu and forget it. Just read North and forget it. The problem is projects and money. That mindset has to change. And we have to bring these guys, the whole population, into thinking policy and reform. There's no policy in this country. Name me one policy that exists. The policy that exists are all give them subsidy, give them this. There's no policy. Education, where's the policy? Single national curriculum, that's all. So I think we really have to think. Stock market, as I said, we don't have a single market in the country. Has anybody thought about it? No. These are the key issues. Thank you.